You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today we have our second house call of the weekend. We've got some great calls, some great follow-ups actually from yesterday. So if you didn't tune in to episode, I believe it was 336, definitely check that out. We honestly went over so many amazing questions from people. Everything from what do the white marks on your fingernails mean? We went over how do I allow interns in my practice or shadowing? If you're a natural health practitioner, how can you get more information? We talked about very specific and serious muscle spasm based issues. So again, great show, and I always throw in little tips along the way, so check that out. Now today we've got 4 more great questions. The first one is actually from Jeni. Jeni is writing in asking, "Hi Dr. Cabral, I have a question regarding 2 of my boys. One is 16 years old, the other is 7. Both suffer from super dry, cracked hands. They play with basketballs and footballs regularly, which seem to make their fingers split and crack even more. It is extremely painful for them. Is there anything I can try that is natural or anything I should be looking out for? We have tried them sleeping with cotton gloves with different things on their hands. That doesn't seem to help at all. Their doctors have prescribed steroid creams, which I am against, but have tried. That didn't even touch the problem, so after 2 weeks we stopped that. Any suggestions would be helpful." All right, Jeni, we have some great suggestions for you. So dry skin is extremely prevalent, especially in the wintertime and especially in cold climates and especially in climates where there's low humidity. So why would that be? Well, think about this. When you're taking hot showers, when using more hot water, when you're outside in low humidity and this dryness, what it does is and even heat in the house, it pulls the moisture from your body. So there's a few things we need to look at right off the bat. Are your 2 boys lacking in good fats in their diet? Meaning we need more of the avocado, more of the olive oil, maybe more of the coconut oil. If they are not vegan, more grass-fed butter, more ghee. Those specific things can help the good fats in their body, okay? The second thing is we want to just cut down no alcohol use in the hands. Alcohol is not good in the hands. Unless you're performing surgery, there's no need to be swabbing alcohol all day long on your hands. Not only keep your fingers out of your mouth. That's basically the bottom line, right? Your kids are older, they're good, they can do that. But the other thing is that it kills all the natural bacteria on your hands. And they're showing that it is not good. Not only is it not good, it will allow other microbes that are not supposed to be on your skin to then enter your skin because you don't have the same pH. You don't have the same good bacteria to fend off this other bacteria from the environment. And when you get more of these cracks in your fingers, which alcohol absolutely can do, the Purell, all of those, it leads to then all of these viruses and bacteria getting directly into your bloodstream. Whereas before, if you had that sealed skin, that would never happen. So really, really important. Okay, moving on. What else is there? So there are vitamin deficiencies. So besides the fat, not enough good fat, there's also an issue with the vitamin A and vitamin D being low in the winter. So one way to kind of fix all of these things is a good multi or the all-in-one that I always recommend everyone. If not, have your kids. They're old enough. I believe you said they're 16 or so, or maybe you didn't say it all. Okay, one's 16 and the other is 7. Well, the 16-year-old can absolutely take the daily activated multi or they could do the all-in-one shake. The 7-year-old can do just 1 or 2 of the capsules instead of the 4 if they're doing that multi. If they can swallow those, no problem. So they're going to get that. But then extra vitamin D during the winter. You can do the liquid vitamin D or you can do the capsules. And remember, I'll also be talking about it later today in the podcast. You get a free bottle with any order from the stephencabral.com store. But also you can purchase a good bottle of vitamin D3 anywhere. And your 16-year-old son can absolutely do 2,000 IUs a day. And of course, he can have his vitamin D levels checked as well. Your 7-year-old can do 1,000 to 2,000 typically, no problem. They can be fungal infections. Now, both your sons have this issue and their toenails look fine and their fingernails look fine. There probably isn't a fungal-based infection. However, if they get psoriasis, if they get eczema, then there absolutely can be a yeast-based issue to check out. I just want to give you everything to look at, right? So besides that, I also want to make sure, I'm assuming that you're using the same laundry detergent, the same, all of those soap products. If you switched, if you use an antibacterial soap like a Dial, a pump soap like that during the winter, get rid of that. Just use a natural soap. So another big thing is this. If they're going to bed with the gloves on, which is a good idea, try to use coconut oil or use a jojoba oil. Use something. Remember, moisturizers are fine. They keep the moisture from coming out, but you need oils to replenish all the oil from their skin that they've lost. So absolutely do that and just keep that going. That's only part of the process, right? Make sure they're not dehydrated, that they're getting half their body weight in ounces of water per day. Very, very important. Let's give you one more tip to look at as well. Very interesting. So this was kind of like an old school one, not too old school, a couple 100 years old. Great tip though that's worked for a lot of people. You take coffee grinds and you add a little bit of moisture to them just so they're kind of just a little wet, almost like a mud. And then you have them rub them into their hands for just about, let's say 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. Little moisture in the water. What happens is the actual oils from the coffee grinds can absorb into the hands and it can actually help exfoliate the skin as well. That seems to work well for a lot of people. So you have a lot of tips. Obviously, just rewind this podcast, play it back, listen to those tips, write them down. But those things should work, and I'd love to hear your success story with that by implementing all of those different things. Okay, moving on. Next question, Deb is asking. Deb says, over the years, I've exercised, danced, and ran up and down stairs caring for my family. I've gardened or purchased most of our plant-based foods from local farms. But now at age 63, I've experienced trouble with my right knee for about 3 years, which flares up whenever I use the steps, stand too long washing dishes, or sit too long watching TV. When I get up in the morning, so my knee hasn't been supporting weight, all is well until I use the steps. I am now about 30 pounds overweight and know that if I could lose the extra weight, it will probably help, but I am limited as to what I can do. What could you suggest? Okay, Deb, we've got a lot of things to look at. So at 63 years old, if you've been active, if all these things have happened, you maybe had some meniscus tears over the years, you maybe worn away that cartilage, you could be close to bone on bone with that knee. You could have a partially torn meniscus. All of those things, absolutely should be looked at, but we can do a whole lot. And a lot of people I work with, they're bone on bone with their knee, but they don't need a knee replacement yet. And the reason is they don't have the pain because we've reduced the inflammation. So let's start with this. Let's get the weight off. That's the easiest way. If you lose 30 pounds, think about this. Pick up a 30-pound weight and walk around with it. It's just so much more wear and tear in your body. That's why my goal is to help people lose as much weight as they can to get to a healthy weight, because their energy goes up. There's less wear and tear in the joints. They just feel fantastic because, again, how much better would you feel if you weren't dragging around a 25-pound weight on your body, right? You'd feel so much better. So if you're limited with exercise, limited with all these things, of course, I'm going to recommend to you, because it's the absolute number one thing you could do, is the Dr. Cabral Detox. I would like you to do it for 21 days, the full 21 days. You will not spend any more on the Dr. Cabral Detox than you would normally with a week of eating. And you have all those great garden vegetables that you could use for your lunches and your dinners. So, you're good to go. The 21-day detox, you can just go to drcabraldetox.com and you can check that out. So that's obviously my number one recommendation. People lose 15 plus pounds in 21 days on that. It works fantastically well, and I have no doubt it's going to work for you whether you're exercising or not while you're on it. If you can walk, if you can get those 10,000 steps a day, great. But remember, if your knee's bothering you around 4,000 or 5,000, I don't want that to be exacerbated either. So you could try some upright bike, meaning like on a previous Friday review, check it out. I recommend an upright bike, a couple $100 versus a couple $1,000 for a treadmill. Well worth it if you're going to use it. And the upright bike, I think, is the best for people really over 50 years old who want to save those knees from running and that type of stuff. All right, a couple last suggestions. Nutritional supplements that work great too after you're done with your detox. Wobenzyme. I'll try to link it up in the show notes. If not, it's just Wobenzyme. Wobenzyme. It is the number one joint-based based product in Germany. Germany is the most advanced in terms of natural medicine, the technology that they use, the research that they do, because it's also government funded, which is kind of nice. Remember, when you have health insurance that actually cares about you trying to use less of it, then you get things paid for like nutritional supplements and, these types of great research. So Wobenzyme is fantastic. Another product by Protocol for Life called glucosamine plus chondroitin sulfate plus MSM. Really great product. However, it does take about 4 to 6 weeks to work. That's going to add a little bit more moisture, a little bit more buoyancy, absorbency between those joints. Love that product. Really great. And then you could also try doing some curcumin phytosome, also by Protocol for Life. There are other brands as well, but that will help with the inflammation. So Wobenzyme helps get rid of the fibrin and all sorts of stuff that shouldn't be there. The glucosamine chondroitin MSM is great for actual joint structure, and the curcumin lowers inflammation. Hopefully all of those suggestions help Deb. And of course, I love to hear the success story, so feel free to write in. Ray S. is up next. Really quick one. He asked, I saw that you are giving away free bottles of vitamin D this month, and I know I should be taking it. Could you tell me how much, though? Does it matter my age or weight? Does it matter what kind? Okay, great question. Please listen in over the last couple podcasts. I've talked about vitamin D. I've talked about how important it is. If you take one vitamin during the winter and you live above that Atlanta, Georgia latitude, you must take vitamin D. It's that important. And the capsules are tiny. Like they're these little childlike capsules. So they're easy to swallow, and you only have to swallow one a day. You just take it with breakfast. So how much should you take? Well, the typical standard in functional medicine is, of course, you want to do a blood lab. So if you can do a blood lab, great. It's a little over $100. You get your vitamin D levels. It's great, right? Because you can measure it. You can say, I want to be between 50 and 70 nanograms a milliliter. If you're 38, well, you need to bump it up. If you're 75, well, you don't need any vitamin D, right? So that's the functional medicine way. However, if you're not going to go lab testing, that's okay. What you want to do is you want to look for about 35 IUs per pound of body weight. So let's do easy math for myself. If you weigh 100 pounds, you would use 3,500 IUs per day during the winter, October through May. Again, above that Atlanta, Georgia line in the U.S. So, if you weigh 160 or so pounds, you're going to be at about 5,000 IUs a day. Most people need about 5,000 IUs per day, not more than that, during the winter. However, if you're just like, I have no idea if I'm high, if I'm low. Again, I test people all year round. Very few people, even in the summertime, are adequate between 50 and 70 nanograms milliliter. And the reason is this. You need full body sun exposure to get adequate vitamin D. So even in the summertime, it's not like you're outside. You're probably working. It's not like you're lying, on your deck all day. And you need that 3 to 4 times a week. So most people get it on the weekend, but not enough during the week, and that's why they're still low. So here's the thing. The ones that I would recommend typically would be, maybe you're going to get 500 or 1,000 in a good multivitamin. Take another 2,000 a day. That's the bottom. That's 3,000 IUs. So that's what I would recommend. And yes, while supplies last, at StephenCabral.com/store, we're giving away free bottles, 120 cap bottles. So basically, you're getting a good winter supply of that. Does your weight matter? No, it does not. It matters just strictly on your level. I shouldn't say that. I said 35 IUs per pound of body weight. Yes, that's what matters. I believe it said there maybe an age. Age does not matter at all. I would say it matters even more so as you get older, because vitamin D is used for strong bones, right? So you take that in with vitamin K, with calcium, with magnesium, and it creates nice strong bones. Strontium and so many other great minerals, right? So Ray, hopefully that answers your question. And last question of the day is from Andrew C. Andrew writes in, thank you for all you do. I'm a longtime listener, but just writing in for the first time. My question is that I am a profuse sweater and can't seem to control it. I sweat through my shirt every day, and if I exercise, I leave a pool of sweat wherever I am. Is this genetic, and can I do anything about it? Thanks for your help. Okay. I work with this particular issue all the time. This is very straightforward, Andrew. This is a clear-cut case of someone who is pushed too far in the autonomic nervous system to what's called the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. Sweating is a fight or flight based response. So when I see someone in my office, like literally with upper lip sweat, or, they have armpit sweat through their shirt, that shouldn't happen. Your body's supposed to be at rest. You're not supposed to be sweating. Now, if there's no air conditioning, and you're in a warm office, that's a different story. But there are people who sweat no matter where they're at. And you have to understand that there are two different sides to your nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Well, when you're at rest, your body's supposed to be in the parasympathetic. You're not supposed to be sweating. And again, this is in like normal temperatures. You can be in the parasympathetic in an infrared sauna and sweat, and that's perfect. That's the best way to detoxify. But when you're at rest, you're in air conditioning and you're still sweating, or you're working out and you just profusely sweat. And it's just a normal workout. Like you see people working around you, they're sweating, but they're not drenched through their shirt. It means, and typically you might have a high heart rate as well, and you potentially could have high blood pressure. Again, on previous podcasts, I've recommended blood pressure monitors. I've recommended the oximeter that takes your oxygen, but it also takes your resting heart rate as well. You'll typically see those are above the mid-60s. Again, when you're at rest, your heart rate should be in that mid-60s or maybe even just a little lower. And if you're in the high 70s or 80s at rest, you can see that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight is just dominant. That burns the body out. That causes, again, constriction of the arteries. It causes things like immune-based issues because, again, you're stuck in that sympathetic nervous system. It lowers secretory IgA. It causes higher blood pressure, hypertension, anything that deals with constriction of the arteries. And it also doesn't allow you to rebuild your body and rejuvenate at night because usually you're stuck in that as well. So highest recommendation is first things first, do a hair tissue mineral analysis. Least expensive lab you can run. It's phenomenal, and you get to actually look at calcium versus magnesium. That will give you your best indicator for stress. And then you'll actually get to look at sodium potassium. Sodium potassium will then show you, are you catabolic? Are you actually breaking down more muscle tissue than you should be? Meaning like that's going to not be great for body transformation either. So you're working out, you're probably maybe interested in keeping yourself in great shape. So if you're catabolic when you work out, it's sometimes detrimental because it's essentially burning up muscle tissue, your arms or legs. You start to add body fat around the middle with the increased cortisol. It starts to affect blood sugar levels. You have high blood sugar during the day. So all these things are not ideal for overall health. Again, I see this all the time in my practice. We look at the hair tissue mineral analysis. We start using things like magnesium. We start using things like adrenal response, complete care, like adaptogens like ashwagandha or cortisol manager. Those things help to lower cortisol levels. And of course, you could run an adrenal hormone stress test as well, and it will actually show you your cortisol levels. It would show you DHEA, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. Amazing test as well. Both of those would show you cortisol from a hormone standpoint from the saliva test. That's the adrenal hormone test. And then the calcium, magnesium, heavy metals, all that great stuff is with the hair tissue mineral analysis. Love both of those labs. The hair tissue mineral analysis is just a little less expensive than doing the adrenal hormone test, but both of them would be great for you to run. You could simply pick one or do both. And of course, you would get my specific recommendations and then get a call with my holistic health coach and nutritionist as well. So I think those were pretty detailed answers today. Hopefully they gave you a great place to start. And if you're dealing with any issues like this as well, I think it'll help you too. The other thing is, if you know any friends with these specific conditions, remember, we all know people with dry, cracked hands, right? We know people who are dealing with weight loss issues or weight gain issues, with knee pain, with their excess sweaters, with how much vitamin D they should take. So feel free to pass along this podcast and anyone that you believe could help, because the truth is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to start a movement that relies less on allopathic medical system and more on us. That means you and me taking control of our own health. When we do that, we need to spend less money on health insurance, less money on prescriptions, less money on surgery, and we have less suffering in the world as well. And I think that's really important. So please help me if you can pass along this message to others. Again, as always, I truly appreciate you tuning into the Cabral Concept. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life.
And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.